I don't know.
That, you know,
He's so cute. I don't know why he's so cute in this entire interview. For 46 minutes, he's being cute as fuck. Especially the 35,000 mosquitoes. Or no, 35,000 died to the mosquito. Funniest line from Tucker interviews, 45 seconds. I know, we already covered the mosquito part. Here.
It's debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
I'll skip around. So this beginning is like really stupid.
Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
thank you.
Why aren't you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, you know, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you
got sick of Tucker before he left Fox. In the weeks leading up to it, you had trouble making it through his segments. Yeah, we had a Tucker ban for a little bit on the broadcast because like I couldn't stomach watching his shit. But nowadays is a different kind of I can't stand him. Back then I couldn't stand it because like he was cutting such like so much white supremacist agitated propaganda that I was just thinking about like the secondary impact of this kind of rhetoric existing in the orbit, existing in the ether, and like what that will do to the American public consciousness. And that was why I couldn't watch it. But now, like, the Andrew Tate interview, I just don't even give a shit. You know what I mean? It's the exact opposite, where, like, now I don't care. You know what I mean? You couldn't stand him because he was so right? Yeah, I was just like, yeah, he's so right. Always. Always thinking, like, man, you know what? You know who the real problems facing American society? You know who the real problem causers are? The people that are responsible for Americans feeling shitty, just random trans people, like a handful of them. That's who.
You see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points. And, you know, some of them are at 1 and 0 and 2. And I'm saying, do I sit there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president? Should I be doing that? And a network that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly. You know, they were backing Ron DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. You know, in 2016, I went through the same stuff and had to fight them all the way, and then they became very friendly after I won, or just about when I was winning. But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one poll, I'm leading by 70 points, and I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate, I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love answering, I love doing, but it doesn't make sense.
Do you think it should be illegal to not do debates like Kyle Kalinske? That's what Kyle thinks? It should be illegal to not do debates? That's fucking awesome. I don't think debates are all that relevant or important. I just want the debates to happen, especially with Trump involved, because he's content. And because I want him to win, because I'm the biggest Trump supporter
Sense
out
to
there.
do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
Well, I did. I'm grateful that you did. It's interesting, though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC. But you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, according to a poll that I guess we just saw, it just came out where
It's such a funny thing to ask Donald Trump, because it's like, where do you get your news? Okay? Like, if we're being real, where is Trump getting his news from? You think he's getting it from Twitter? Fuck no, he's watching TV. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh yeah, I hear that the Twitter is doing so well. It's like, shut the fuck up.
where it's down like 30, 35%, but I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say, MSDNC, is so bad. It's so wrong what they write and what they do and what they say. It's, it's fake news, as I said. I think I came up with that term. I hope I did, because it's a good one. It's not tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. Really what you do is call it corrupt news, but somehow that doesn't play as nicely. But it is corrupt news. So you have MSNBC and you have CNN, who's absolutely doing no ratings at all. I mean, they're dead. But they're doing none because they don't have credibility. They really don't have credibility. Fox is way down, as you know. And the good old days are long ago. I will say this, it could come back, but they just don't have a lot of credibility, Tucker. You know that perhaps better than anybody. It was a terrible move getting rid of you. You were #1 on television, and all of a sudden we're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum that...
No, you won't. Come on. Again, ask Donald Trump, or not ask Donald Trump, but ask yourself, because he's not going to be honest. Ask yourself, do you think Donald Trump gets his information from X, Twitter, Truth Social, or do you think he gets it from television? He is an avid TV watcher, okay, 24/7. And many of the Republican voter base and even the Democratic Party's voter base, the older people that actually do go out and vote, every single one of those motherfuckers are probably the last demographic that's permanently on television. Okay? None of the above. He gets his news from his cronies. Fuck no, you're wrong. Donald Trump is a fucking massive TV watcher. You're so wrong.
You're using, then probably the debate or competition.
When you say they're...
For the record, guys, we know he was the president. We know his TV watching habits. They were well documented when he was in the fucking White House and was the president. They literally talked about it endlessly.
People on stage who shouldn't be running for president. Who do you mean?
Well, I don't want to really use names, but it wouldn't matter too much. A guy like, I call him Ada Hutchinson. It's Asa, but I call him Ada.
Nice.
What do you call him, Ada?
I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble. But he's weak and pathetic, and he was, I never understood the guy, never knew him. He was the governor of Arkansas, not a very popular guy. I don't know how he, but that.
This is a good moment to remind everybody that Tucker Carlson very famously, in text messages that were unearthed in the discovery process of the Dominion lawsuit, said to his Fox News co-hosts that he absolutely despised Donald Trump, he hated him more than anything else, and he wanted him to go away, and he was waiting anxiously for the day for him to go away, and that he would never talk about him if he didn't have to. Now that he's, on Twitter, X, his own show, why is he dick riding Trump again? How did that happen? You know why? It's the same exact principle why he went to fucking Romania to talk to alleged sex trafficker brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. Okay? Because he's a fucking clout shark, just like every other online content creator, myself included. That's why. Because he needs the juice. Okay? That's the reality. You have to go to them now. They don't come to you. Because you no longer have that captive audience that Fox News had at primetime television.
That state is such a great state. The people are so incredible in that state. And they love me and I love them. How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always and has been. A guy like Chris Christie, the guy left with a 8%, think of it, 8% approval rating in New Jersey. Now he's running for president. And he runs solely on the basis, let's get Trump. He's like a...
By the way, here, I hate him passionately. What Tucker Carlson said in a private about Donald Trump. During the Dominion voting system's defamation lawsuit against Fox News, which resulted in, $1 billion, almost $1 billion settlement. In a text message on November 9th, 2020, Carlson declared, "The software shit is absurd." Carlson made clear that he did not believe Trump's central claim that voting machines had switched votes from himself to Joe Biden. Carlson described Trump's refusal to accept his 2020 election defeat as destructive and disgusting. In a text on November 11th, 2020, following news that Trump would not attend Biden's inauguration, Carlson slammed Trump's behavior on November 11th as so destructive and disgusting, adding, "I'm trying to look away." Why? Because Tucker Carlson, despite the fact that he is a WASP nationalist piece of shit, is still very much a liberal, because everyone is a liberal at the end of the day. He cares about the civility and the and the possible destructive power that this might have on the Republican Party, which, for Tucker Carlson's reasons at least, is an institution to enact his WASP nationalist agenda. He's only good at destroying. Responding to a text on November 13th from an unknown person bemoaning the damage Trump was doing to the Republican Party by not conceding, Carlson added, he's only good at destroying. He doesn't care. I care. In a text message sent November 23rd, 2020, Carlson lambasted Trump for undermining Republican prospects in the U.S. Senate runoffs in Georgia. And now Trump, I learned this morning, is sitting back and letting them lose the Senate. He doesn't care. I care. I've got 4 kids and a plan to live here. I hate him passionately, Carlson was eager to see Donald Trump ushered off the political stage following his 2020 election defeat. In a text message on January 4th, 2021, Carlson declared, we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. Trump and his allies have so discredited their own case and the rest of us to some extent. In the same January 4th text message, he said, Carlson expressed one source of his frustration saying that Trump and those surrounding him have failed to demonstrate that there was mass election fraud, which on some level Carlson continued to believe. I have no doubt there was fraud, but at this point Trump and Linwood and Sidney Powell have so discredited their own case and the rest of us to some extent that it is infuriating. It absolutely enrages me. Carlson, on the night of January 6th, told a Fox News producer that Trump was a demonic force, a destroyer. So now, he's back at it. He's back at it. He has to. He has to suck up to him.
Savage maniac. He's like a lunatic. And that's all he talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low. He's at about 2%.
What's he like? You know.
Trump is turning his biggest haters into his biggest customers. He's turning his biggest haters into waiters at the table of success. That is precisely what Donald Trump is doing here. Okay? Much like Eric Adams, New York mayor. That is a direct quote of something that Eric Adams said, by the way, for those of you who don't know. For those of you who are not deep in the cut at the Eric Adams lore.
Oh, well.
No, I've been friendly with him over the years, but I couldn't give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was just never one of his people that really trusted him. I never gave him the job, and that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed. And I understand that. I really do. I understand it, but I never gave him. You know, he wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration, and I decided I didn't want to do it. And now I'm glad I did, because you see, but you know, we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do this, because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington. But guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were, I would say, bushies. I say that with respect. They were bushies, and just it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear, this is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
right?
His autobiography, and in it he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly,
this part is also kind of just like desperate and sad.
Really lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say.
I don't know.
That, you know,
he's so cute. I don't know why he's so cute in this entire interview. For 46 minutes, he's being cute as fuck. Especially the 35,000 mosquitoes. Or no, 35,000 died to the mosquito.
He's a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Like, look how cute he is. Look. Wait, fuck.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Will say that, you know, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Well,
and they hid it. And, like, why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either.
I'm waiting for additional updates, iDubbbz.
But he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. You know, they play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. and they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's...
What do these guys expect? Like, they just say this, and then I pull them up, and then they don't say anything ever again. Like, what happened?
possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, you know, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden.
Like, this line is, by the way, identical to the New York Times. Like, he might as well be repeating the New York Times. That like, Jeffrey Epstein probably killed himself because he had a great life and he lost everything. So he got sad and he killed himself.
Suddenly he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people, there are many people, I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't.
I know that's not the real Ian, my man. I know. It's just some fucking fake ass hater. But I just wanted to hear what else he had to say.
Well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and you know, a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you, a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking.
He's
at the
literally
trajectory.
debating. He is debating that Jeffrey Epstein actually did kill himself. That's what Trump is doing here. I don't know why Tucker thought that Trump would be like, yeah, under my watch, Jeffrey Epstein was assassinated. Like, it doesn't even make sense. He was fucking president. You know what I mean? Why the fuck would he say that? Like, that makes him look bad even from the perspective that Tucker's trying to get across. But again, it's very sad. He's trying to get Trump to be like, yeah, he did, but he can't do it.
Since 2015, when you got into politics, you know, for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice, and now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just...
Yeah, he's trying to... This is the same exact reason why he didn't say Jeffrey Epstein definitely was assassinated. Because he's trying to come across more moderate in this interview, while simultaneously saying the most unhinged shit,
Republicans
obviously.
are conservative. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody. But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to. When they make up the Russia, when that's exposed and they go down, and Barr should have gone after them and other people should have gone after. And they did very late because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good. But it explained how corrupt it was. I'll tell you who did a great job was the Inspector General Horowitz. He did a phenomenal report. You didn't have to go to Durham. He did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others, and it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are. But these people are sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know the truth. When you see open borders, when you see these policies that they have, and so many other things, it's so sad to see. You know, we have a country that's very fragile right now. I've never seen, I will say, look,
I mean, this is identical to the bars he was dropping right leading up to the fucking election when the one that he won, you know?
Ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16, and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. You know, it wasn't even a contest. People said, well, what'd you think of 20? I said, we did much better. We did. You got to base it on the number of votes. We got many more votes in 20 than we did in 16. But the election was rigged. It was a rigged election. But And with COVID, they use COVID to cheat in a lot of different things, and we have so much on it. It's like so easy. But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people didn't want to get involved. They called you, he's a conspiracy theorist if you say anything about the election. But I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road that are just absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. You know, a lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but, you know, you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. You know, I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name.
Brilliant, sir.
I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really...
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 24?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks... He can't lift his feet out of the grass. You know, it's only 2 inches at the White House, right? That's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces. Yeah. You lift them up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. You know, this beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach. Looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach. Plus, the beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be working. You're supposed to be getting us out of that horrible, horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia and Ukraine. You could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it because he's just incompetent. But that's a war that should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Ugh. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up?
There's nothing funnier than Trump talking about the physical fitness of Joe Biden, who is definitely like older than Donald Trump and I wouldn't say is a beacon of physical excellence, but like fucking Donald Trump? Are you serious? Bitch, have you seen yourself? Like, what are you talking about? Like, get the fuck out of here, brother. Who are you fooling?
Up and knocking it down, and who can? Why should anybody, human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are, it's got to be stopped, and it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started if I were president. It would have never started.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think
this
his
part's
are
really
worse,
funny.
Actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird, but she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here, and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future, and I think they probably have some kind of a primary, and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right?
Could be. I mean, you know, I always got along well with him.
I always got along well with Newsom. I knew it.
Could be somebody else. He's got a big on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You know, you look at so many of the things.
He likes Newsom because he's handsome. You will never convince me otherwise. He always has like a weird level of admiration and respect for handsome people. I guess pretty privilege is real, but like, yeah, gruesome Gavin Newsom used to quite I mean, used to pipe down Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Things that are going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, he looks good. He's a nice-looking guy. Speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse, and he almost always does.
Told you.
And I got to know the leaders of all of the countries, essentially, but the big ones. And the bigger, the tougher the leader. You know, it's like sort of, I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President Xi of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Did a great job with North Korea, kept us out of a nuclear war. We would have 40,000 dead soldiers right now. They'd drop a nuke right on top of the military base. But we have 40,000 soldiers over there. And I did great. I got along with them great. That's a positive. You know, the press said, he said nice things about Kim Jong-un. I also said horrible things at the beginning. Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked, and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape.
Unbelievable.
What do you think he and Xi and Putin think of Biden?
I think they can't believe it. I think they probably say this is some kind of a system. You know, they had great respect for our country. They respected me. They had great respect for our country when I was there. Every one of them. Look, if you go to North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said, we are going to let the Olympics proceed. This is North Korea. I said, you should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in. It wasn't like, you know, they were big on athletes because, you know.
Famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And within about 2 days, the entire thing was sold out. And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened.
Dude, I love this. Okay, never mind. I was wrong when I said I don't want to watch this. Oh, my God. Oh, I was so wrong. He's so back, dude. He's so unhinged. Okay. Respect to Tucker Carlson for, like, actually getting him to say stupid shit. Because, like, usually every single interview is such, like, aggressive dick riding that he always stays on message and you hear him say the same dumb shit over and over again. This is perfect. He's like he brought North Korea into the Olympics so that everyone could actually go and enjoy the Olympics without fear of being blown up by a nuclear bomb that North Korea was going to drop on them. He saved the Olympics, dude. What a legend.
But I got along very well with him, and that's a positive thing. He does have massive nuclear power, by the way. And if Hillary would have gotten in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was expecting to go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear war.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
Well, somebody else has to be. I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it he wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great.
He's a little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
No, I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 Minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great, though. He was great at what he did. But Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. You know, he wouldn't do. I figured. I didn't mind Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show. And it was very obvious. You know, he kept asking him and asking, but he wouldn't do the show. So I figured he's got to like me. But he came from a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up now. It's brought up all the time. But that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he
got in the way of the question.
No.
Oh, my God, dude. Tucker is such a demon. When he laughs, it's just like, Oh God, it's scary.
Well, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million for the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
Amazing. So do you have a preference in, assuming you're the Republican nominee and all goes as you plan it to go, do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. You know, it's still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago, and now it's very sad when you look.
When? Like, when was San Francisco ever an incredible city? Like, from his perspective, okay? No, there was never a fucking moment in the minds of conservative Americans where San Francisco was a beautiful city. Because before it was the tech capital of America, it was the capital of homosexuality. What do you mean? That's where they invented men fucking men. So, like, even before then, they used to refer to San Francisco as a disgusting place filled to the brim with moral degeneracy and drug usage. San Francisco used to be the gay sex headquarters, dude. And also, ironically, San Francisco back then was, of course, way worse on crime. Just like every other fucking city was way worse on crime. The crime rate was significantly higher like 20, 30, 40 fucking years ago across the board.
Look at it, Los Angeles. Every city, practically, all the Democrat-run cities. You know, Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes.
Yeah, all three Republican-run cities. Like, what fucking city is run by Republicans? Also, Republican-run states, if we're going to expand on this argument, have lower rates of crime than, Democrat-run states have lower rates of crime than Republican-run states, okay? It is such a stupid argument that Republicans channel all the time, and it's very frustrating. It's like, it's so frustrating. And then, of course, the copium comes in. LA doesn't arrest people. Yeah, dude. That's why. You're right. There's this magical thing where, like, Los Angeles is not arresting fucking violent crimes. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything, okay? You don't know anything. Sometimes I feel like when I joke about, like, crime being legal in California, some people do take it to heart. Nice straw man argument. Wait, what? How is that a straw man argument? Explain to me what you think a straw man argument is without Googling it right now. Because even after you Google it, you're going to realize that that is not the correct term to deploy here. Why is it that every fucking debate pervert never knows the correct terminology to use? Like, when you come in here and you deploy something like this, okay, understand that every single person, like, you might think in other circles in your group of friends who are just as stupid as you are, that you might come across like a smart guy. But here, every single person knows you're a fucking idiot. You're like a child using the wrong word that they just learned.
And they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. You know, I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work. You got elected anyway. Yeah. Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times, and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well, so, it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So what's next? After, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life, that's not working. So, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had, and he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both.
So I've countered this so many times. I don't know if there are any new watchers in here who are unfamiliar, but what he's talking about is really funny because Trump is being criminally prosecuted for withholding classified documents. But the main point of contention there isn't necessarily that he has the documents, but instead lying to the officials, the authorities that requested the documents back, and even lying to his own lawyers and cooking up a scheme with his valet to withhold the documents and then demanding or asking his lawyers to basically lie to the authorities about whether he had the documents or not. Okay? So that never fucking happened with Joe Biden, and nor did it happen with Michael Pence. Joe Biden and Mike Pence were also had these identical requests made, possibly because I think that the reason why the authorities did this exact same thing was to basically cover their bases so people don't turn around and say, like, look, you're behaving in a partisan manner here, right? The problem is he gloated on record that he had these classified documents that he had actually not declassified himself long after. So he admitted to doing the crime while having the knowledge that it was a crime, that he had it. And then he also, on top of that, obstructed a normal process instead of just literally going, here are the fucking documents, who gives a shit? Just like what Joe Biden and Mike Pence did.
I mean, he's...
And also, yeah, as I've said before, and Megaphonics is correctly pointing here, he keeps saying, I did the same thing as Joe Biden, who isn't being prosecuted. I did nothing wrong, but they also should prosecute Joe Biden instead. Doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense.
He's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and I actually believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate, and he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China now is building, think of this, China is building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back. And you don't even hear about it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media.
Donald Trump literally worsened relations with Cuba after Barack Obama started normalizing relations with Cuba. What the fuck is he saying? I love that he learned a new thing, though. Manchurian candidate. Awesome.
Because normally, you know, when I first heard that, that China's building installations in Cuba, and installations means military installations, okay, you know, they said just some communication. They did that on the islands with Japan. They took the island, they started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including the Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody that this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? You know, private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big...
It's ironic that this is one area where you can tell he knows what he's talking about. The private jet thing. I don't believe the runway was 20,000 feet long, but it is pretty funny that he that is one area of expertise for him. Like, why the fuck does he know that?
Big ones need 20,000 feet. They don't even need 20. And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length, for housing development. There's nobody that has a plane that big that you would have a runway that's
Why is
for
China
testing.
allowed to conduct imperialism in our hemisphere?
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba. It's all over South America.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
So we built a thing called the Panama.
Wait. So we get to have a fucking blockade implemented on Cuba since the revolution that we lost, by the way. Our guy lost. Immediately, we implement an embargo, a blockade, unjustifiable, inhumane, cruel. That's allowed, and that's not imperialism. Cuba voluntarily works with someone who we declare a foreign adversary. That's actually imperialism. What the fuck are you saying? Our hemisphere, the American hemisphere. Yeah. That part is whatever. It doesn't matter. It's so fucking insane that someone could just like get away with saying such unhinged shit.
Panama Canal. We lost 35,000 people to
it is pure American chauvinism, 100%.
Mosquito, you know, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost 35,000 people building. We lost 35,000 people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under.
It's the best part.
One of the true great wonders of the world, as he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago, you know. It says 9 wonders of the world. You could make 9 wonders. He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9. But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country, he respected me, and he'll get out. And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In one day, they lifted the fees, which are, you know, pretty big for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and through all the tremendous storms, such beauty, such, you know, when you, it's beautiful stuff. But you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the bigger ships. And we go through the Panama Canal. We built it.
Dude, this is so much better than every other dumbass like meeting, campaign rally that he's done. He is absolutely spitting. Like, this is when a comedian that you like comes back after a stand-up special and, like, he's got a new one. He's got a new hour. You know what I mean? He's just been hitting the same fucking notes over and over again. And you finally stop watching him for a little bit, and then he comes back and he's like, I have a new tight 45-minute bit. I've been working on this for a year. I'm ready for my new special, and he just has it fucking so tightly wound, dude. Oh my God.
And we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country. And now we have a president that can't put two sentences together, can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles. I mean, he ran out of his basement, and you got away with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election. But you have people that are very smart, but they're fascists and they're radical left lunatics, and they're destroying our country with the all-electric cars and the windmills all over the place, which, by the way, don't work, and they're most of them made in China. For the most part, they're made in China. Germany a little bit, but China. But you look at what's happening to our country, even no voter ID. I mean, why don't they want voter ID? There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. I mean, who doesn't want, you know, the Democrat convention, the last one, they had voter ID that was this big. It looked like a prison card, this big on their chest. You walked in, they had your picture, your this, your fingerprint. They had everything. The most incredible voter ID I've ever seen. That was to get into the Democrat National Convention. But to get into vote, if you buy groceries...
Wait, what? Does Trump think you need a security credential to be able to vote? What the fuck's going on? It's like antithetical to the concept of voting. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, you need security credentials to go to like an event. The entire point of voting is you're trying to maximize the amount of people that vote. So putting hurdles in front of that is a problem. You can't have the same level of like security protocol. Also, why would you? What the fuck? Why won't your lame-ass politician get off Xi's dick? Dude, the craziest part about this is that he's riding Xi's dick harder than me. Like, a lot of people are always like, Hasan, you're such a fucking Xi Jinping dick rider. You're such a Xi Jinping dick rider. Nobody rides Xi Jinping's dick harder than Donald Trump. Yeah, with no hands. He's doing tricks on it. He's doing it all, baby. You don't even care about bricks? Yeah. I don't, because I don't think it's like all that significant, okay? Only bricks I'm talking about are the bricks that people drop at the top of the hour to help others avoid the ad breaks. That's right. I'm talking about gifted subs. Bars. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, if you want to be bricked up at the top of the hour, all you need to do is subscribe on your own. You can do that for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Matt NLT, thank you for the 5 gifted, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
If you buy in practically
Dynamic
anything,
jab. Thank you for the 5
on a card, credit cards or otherwise.
But that, don't you think it's racist to have to show your ID?
Well, they probably say that. They use anything not to show ID because voter ID is pretty simple. And we could go back, and we should go back to all paper ballots, voter ID, same-day voting. You know, France did it. France had mail-in ballots, and it was terrible. Anytime
Trump has literally cast mail-in ballots every election in the state of Florida. Also, if we're going to do the boring fact-checking shit, America has a mostly paper ballot process. Paper ballots are still the safest and most secure way of making sure that we have belief in our elections and also election security. With the exception of 1 or 2 states, both red states, by the way, I'm pretty sure, every single American state still has paper ballots. Okay? Why do Republicans hate mail-in ballot when a ton of Republicans vote by mail-in ballot? I don't get it. I don't know. Well, I do know. It's because fucking more poor people can vote when there's universal ballot registration and mail-in ballots and early access voting. Better explain paper electronic voting? Yes. It does not matter if you live in a state where you think you are voting electronically because you walked into a poll station and you press the button on what looks like an iPad. That registers input directly onto a paper ballot. Okay? And then those paper ballots are still tabulated. When there are election recounts, they look at said paper ballots. They actually also do hand recounts on said paper backups. Yes. So I hope you guys understand that. I hope you guys know that that is the case. So when Republicans say there's no paper ballots or whatever the fuck, they're actually lying. Every state, with the exception of Mississippi, as far as I remember, has paper ballots, especially as a alternative or as a means to make sure you verify the actual votes or that you use in a recount. Mississippi has paper ballots? Oh, I think it was Tennessee. Okay, my bad. Not Mississippi. Tennessee is the one state, I think. There's one red state that I know. There's one state that I know for a fact is a red state. I don't know which one it is. I always fuck it up. That has exclusive electronic voting now.
Time you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have massive cheating on your election.
I know that voter IDs are bad and it directly suppresses minorities from voting, but I don't know how it suppresses minorities. Can you explain? Yes. Voter ID as a verification process is an understandable provision to make in countries where there is universal ID. In countries where they do not have universal ID that every single citizen gets from birth, voter ID is implemented as a separate hurdle. There are plenty of poor people that never drive, that don't have a driver's license. It costs money to go and get a driver's license. Okay? You can also have an expired driver's license. It's not free. Nothing can get in the way of voting in a fair and free democratic country. Okay? In countries where they constantly talk about voter ID, those nations have free universal ID, compulsory voting, allowances that they make, alternative forms of identification that they allow. America doesn't have any of those things. That's the reason why Republicans advocate for voter ID, specifically to stop some people from voting. So, one other issue, one other problem with the ID situation is that the DMV is a horrible process, and it is by design. It is not easy to go to the DMV. You need an entire day away from work to go to the DMV and sit there and wait and get your ID, all so you can go and fucking vote. And you have to pay money to be able to do that. You have to pay money for the photo. I think, oh, right, no, DMV takes the photos themselves, I'm pretty sure. This is a process that takes a lot of time. Okay? It's a process that also is incredibly difficult to engage in because there are plenty of places, especially in the red states where black people live, that they want to stop from voting with voter ID provisions, where there is no public transit. So let's say you have the time to be able to go to the DMV. Sometimes you do not have a vehicle to go to the DMV. Let's say you have $50 to pay for the ID. You still do not have any kind of access. You can't get to the DMV because you don't have a car and there's no public transit, or even if there is public transit, it's not readily available, far away from you. And here's the other side of this. Now, while there are significant hurdles to be able to get an ID, why is voter ID not necessary? Because in the United States of America, the actual issue is not with people voting too much. It's with people not voting due to the Electoral College and its existence making people feel like their vote doesn't matter in either direction. And also, more importantly, due to the fact that elections do not happen on a federal holiday, but merely on a Tuesday, where the polling stations are only open for a couple hours after work if you're lucky enough to get out of work. Okay? The plurality of the country does not vote in normal elections. Do you know what a plurality is? It's the largest number of people that isn't the majority. How do you confirm you're not a minor in clubs and pubs without universal ID? What do you mean? Not every single person is in places where people don't have fucking licenses and shit. They're not going to clubs, brother. What are you talking about? Or if they are, they're going to like shitty ass bars and they don't give a fuck. European chatter. I just said people don't have. I just talked about people who are too broke to fucking pay $50 for the DMV fee. And this guy's like, how do they go to the club? How do they go to the club? What do you mean? It's a universal right for him to go to the club, right? How is he going to la discoteca? What are you saying? I will hear the beautiful laconic beats of techno. You're telling me Alabama has no universal right to party? Fuck you! La merde!
Anytime, but not just the presidential election. Anytime you have...
Isn't that the whole point of them?
Yeah.
So you can cheat?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's their whole point. That's their whole point. They want to cheat, yeah. They have to cheat because their policies are so bad that if they didn't cheat, they couldn't get elected. Who wants open borders? Who wants high taxes? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants to not be able to use a gas stove? Or have to drive an electric car, which, you know, you have a 4-hour drive, but the car only goes an hour and a half, so you have to charge it. The happiest moment for somebody in an electric car is the first 10 minutes. In other words, you get it charged, and now for 10 minutes. The unhappiest part is the next hour because you're petrified that you're not going to be found another charger. People, I'm saying, if people, I'm not knocking electric cars, they're fine. They're fine. But if people want to buy a gasoline car.
Not gonna lie, he kind of owned us EV chatters here. Okay. He's not wrong. He's spitting. He's kind of cooking us a little bit, I'm afraid. No, he did it. Megaphonics, stop. He's spitting, dude. He's right. I'm afraid he's right.
Or hybrid. Hybrids are pretty good, actually. But they should be allowed to buy. They don't want to do any of this. So right now, California's in a big brownout because their grid is a disaster. The grid all over the country is sort of a disaster, but the grid in California. And yet, they want to have in a very short period of time millions and millions of cars going off that grid, essentially. It doesn't work.
So plug your car into a grid that's failing.
You should be able to buy an electric car. You know, electric cars could be fine if you drive short distances and you want to have, you know, whatever, and you have plug-ins everywhere you go. They could be fine. But you got to have gasoline cars. You got to have everything. Let people buy everything. Now there's the new thing is your heating system.
Yeah, except no one is like making it illegal. Like, I love that he's like, oh, electric cars, they suck. They want you to forcibly only drive electric. It's like, okay. Like, who What do you mean? Who's like, oh, we're banning internal combustion? It's over. Oh, he's talking about the California plan by 2030 to not sell gas cars in California. Yeah, that still doesn't mean that there's no fucking gas cars. And even in California, you could probably still buy cars that are not 2035. Like, for example, in California, there are restrictions on, what is it? What's the smog shit that they have? They have like smog check and a bunch of other restrictions that you need to have on your car. If you are, yeah, they have emissions restrictions and smog check. But there are cars that are grandfathered into it. If they're old. Yeah, 1980 and below don't need it. So it's basically the same. It'll probably be that you can like buy, even in the state of California, cars that are internal combustion just before 2035. And also on top of that, you can still have your car. They're not going to like make it illegal to drive it. The world has 120 years of oil left, so electric cars are going to be the future anyway. Yeah, I mean, it is. Electric cars are the future, even though they suck. I think the future shouldn't be electric cars. The future should be public transit.
Systems in the house. They don't want you to have a modern day heating system. They want you to use a heating system that will cost you at least $10,000 to buy and won't work very well. You know, none of the stuff works as well. One of the things I did with EPA is you have states, many states, most of the states have so much water. You know, it comes out of heaven, right? The water pours down and you have it. It's there. It's got to go wherever it goes, into the oceans, whatever. It's not like a big problem. Now, in some states, they have a problem. You know, you have some desert areas and all, and for that, it's okay. But they have sinks where no water comes out. You turn it on, no water comes out. No water comes out of the shower. No water is allowed to go into the washing machine for your dishes or for your clothing or what. And I avoided all of that.
What is he talking about?
Wait, they have sinks where no water comes out?
Sure, you have restrictors. What
is, dude, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I don't know what he means by this. Where do they have like this kind of like, I think the only place I've ever seen this is in Europe or maybe in Japan. I don't think I've ever seen like an actual restrictor in America. Are they doing that? In Cali, they do. Oh, in California, they do that? That's crazy because I live in California, chatter, who probably doesn't live in California. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Restrictors like the sinks at the mall or movie theaters that spray just a little? In California, they do. Zach from H3 said they did it too. What do you mean? Where? Oh, Zach from H3 said he did it too. Yeah, he bought it himself, I thought. No, that's not like a real... That's not the law. No, am I misremembering? Didn't he just literally say he bought it for himself? You live in a rich neighborhood, you wouldn't understand. Yeah. You're right. Over the last decade, many household faucets and shower heads are sold/installed with volume restrictions. Is a law. Newsom literally came to my house and turned off my faucet when I was washing my hands. No, he said he bought and installed a replacement for the restrictor thing.
I say no water, very little water. You want to wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink and it's very little. Or you want to wash your beautiful hair, right? And you're standing under a shower. Then the suds never go. The water comes out very slowly. I'm sure you've seen this. It usually takes place.
I don't get it. Okay, we got to figure out the restrictor. You're misremembering. They come with it and he removed it. Taps with it still flow aggressively. And do I have a restrictor in my house and I'm just like oblivious to it? Like, I don't get it. Austin does complain about the low water pressure all the fucking time. Every single time he's here. I don't understand how it's a problem. It's just like perfectly fine and perfectly normal. You probably have slightly lower pressure than wood without it. If you unscrew it, you could take it out. It's just to reduce the pressure of water, but that's since 1992 in Cali. It's not an issue at all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's what Trump is talking about, chat. I think you guys are doing that thing where he says something unhinged, and then you engage in like 5D. This is actually 5D chess, sir. Like, he actually means this thing. No, I don't think he's talking about that. I can't believe we're trying to rationalize the fucking water pressure thing for this long. Anyway, let's continue.
Place in new hotels and new homes.
Yeah, you take a drill and take the
They have
limiter out.
Well, you can, but now they make it so you can't do that so easily. They have a restrictor. It's called a restrictor, and it restricts the water from coming out. So I ended all of that, and you have to see these. They let the water come out. You know what people do? They wash their hands like 5 times longer, or in the washing machine, they'll press for their, let's say the dishwasher. They'll press it. Then they'll press it about 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Bro, in my entire fucking, my entire life on this planet, I've lived in many different places. I've lived in Turkey. I lived in America. I lived in different states in the United States of America, Florida, New Jersey, California. I have never once in my entire life been like, oh shit, I got to run the dishwasher again. Not enough water went through these dishes. Never. Same with laundry. What the fuck is he talking about? I don't understand what the fuck he means. Oh my God, he's unhinged, but he's not lying. What, like, there's actually a noticeable difference. Trump bemoaned water pressure now his administration has eased standards. No, he's not lying about undoing the Barack Obama thing that we just looked at. Or wait, I guess it was from the 90s. But nothing changed. This is an old bit of his. He used to always talk about flushing toilets, and David Pacman made a whole meme out of it. This isn't real. It's based on when California had such a bad drought that they asked everyone to limit their water usage. Have you ever had a shower in a water fountain? Hasan showers have the pressure of a drinking fountain. Oh my God, Austin, you suck. You are such a complainer, dude. You and Trump both. All right, let's keep going.
They'll end up using more water, and it still won't be very good. I met with the head of Whirlpool. They were practically going out of business during my administration, and they said to me, from Ohio, incredible, great state, I love Ohio, and they were really doing badly because people were dumping washing machines all over, mostly from South Korea, but also from China. And he was explaining it's just a terrible situation. I said, let me ask you, how's the quality? He says, we're better, but they are good enough quality. But, you know, of course he's going to say that. But, you know, they are better. He said, but they don't allow us. They're dumping these machines. They're cutting us in half. They're killing us. And on top of it, the government won't let us use water in our machines. I mean, he shows me like a quarter of a bottle of water. That's supposed to be washing clothing. And I freed it all up, and I put tariffs on these countries that were selling and the machines coming into the country. And that company went from all the washing machine companies, they make washing machines, they make dryers, they make all of the different machines that do this kind of work, including dishwashers. And they went from a disaster area to being just thriving.
But can I ask,
they love me in that part of Ohio.
Well, I bet they do, but why should EPA, no one at EPA was elected by anybody,
yeah. Why
do they have the power to decide how much water your washing machine uses? Shouldn't Congress in a democracy get to vote on that?
Yeah, you could say that. They do things that are not very...
So how do you, that's my question, how do you, if you get elected again...
I love that. He said, why is the EPA unelected and protecting the environment? I don't know. Because you're not a fucking anarchist, man. What do you mean? Like, some shit is supposed to work without dumbasses like you and other dumbasses that watch you interfering with it. Why the fuck would I think that we should have direct democracy on protecting like wildlife, delicate ecosystems, which the EPA doesn't even do? That's the worst part. That's the worst fucking part. They don't even protect the goddamn environment. Hasan, Jose Zerga. Hasan, you gonna start making sense anytime soon? I'm gonna be honest with you, probably not to you. I'm gonna just ban you premeditatively because you are probably a schizophrenic person. And I don't want you saying some unhinged shit in the chat, okay? You say that that's ableist all you want, okay? Not dealing with that, not entertaining with that, not entertaining that at all. Let's continue.
Go back to Washington. How do you keep the agencies under control? How do you keep FBI and CIA specifically under control?
The way you do it, like I fired Comey, that was a big deal. You know, a lot of people said, and I fired him very early. Somebody said, oh, I wish you would have fired him. There was a real question about firing him. Anyway, you understand, because, you know, when they have a 10-year term, there is a question. I fired Comey. That was a great thing. If I didn't fire Comey, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd be talking to you about real estate or something else other than politics, right? That was a coup, in my opinion. That was a very sick deal. That was the insurance policy. You remember the insurance policy? Oh, she's going to win, darling. She's going to win. But just in case she doesn't, we have an insurance policy. And insurance policy was what they were doing. And we caught them with that. That was a very important tweet or whatever it was, text. It was a big deal. That was a big deal. The insurance policy. She's going to win 100 million to 1. That's not good odds. At least they gave me one, right? 100 million to 1. But just in case she doesn't win, we have an insurance policy. And everybody said, that's strange. That's strange. But we caught all of that because I fired Comey. Because when I fired Comey, it was like throwing a rock into a hornet's nest, into a nest of bees, and the place went crazy.
So when you were president, are you confident that you knew everything, say, CIA was doing around the world?
No, I'm not. It's a very interesting group of people. I had very good relationships, I thought, but I was a little surprised.
You know, for all the fucking fake friends surrounding Donald Trump, he really was a fake friend to James Comey. Because, ironically enough, James Comey, who is a lifelong Republican, mind you, quite literally played a more significant role in Hillary Clinton's downfall, outside of Hillary Clinton herself being, you know, completely unlikable, a beacon of elitist corruption, refusing to go to Wisconsin, things of that nature. Jim Comey's second letter caused a noticeable decline in Hillary Clinton's support. Right before the election, Jim Comey basically pulled a COVID right before the election. Remember, COVID and Donald Trump getting COVID right before the election, in my opinion, was a major factor in Donald Trump losing by the margins that he did. Jim Comey did that same shit for Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump fired him. He did everything right. And Donald Trump fired him.
When I got out, that, you know, things go on. Look, it's...
What were you surprised by?
I was surprised. I think at some of the people. I was surprised that there was... I had a group of people. Look, we killed many, using the CIA, I have to say this, very bad actors. We were very good at it. You look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, bigger than Osama bin Laden. I mean, Osama bin Laden had al-Baghdadi did ISIS, and he was rebuilding ISIS very strongly.
And that was the CIA that did that?
That was really us that did that. Yeah. That was really us that did that. And Soleimani was us that did that, not so much CIA. But we did some very good work with the CIA. What I started, you know, when I looked at the 51 intelligence agents saying that that was the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, when I took a look at that, I said, that's a horrible thing. They knew it wasn't. They knew it was not. And by the way, you're talking about cheating on the election? McLaughlin and Fabrizio, great pollsters, they said a thing like that plus other things meant anywhere from 10 to 17% of the vote would change.
Whatever happened to Mike Pence? You've always been nice to Pence. I've never heard you criticize Pence. You've defended him in public many, many times. He's out there attacking you. What is that?
So Mike wants to run for president. You got to understand, in my opinion, Mike Pence had the absolute right to send the votes back to the legislatures. The Democrats and everybody said, you don't have the right. In other words, what I said, is he a human conveyor belt? You mean if he finds fraud in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in any of these states, Arizona, he has to send them to Mitch McConnell, right? That's right, sir. Well, if he finds fraud, he has to? Yes, sir. I said, so he's a conveyor belt. Boom, put him in. I said, I don't agree with that. And we had some lawyers, not all, we had some lawyers that said, no, you do have the right to send them back to the legislatures to be rechecked. Because if you looked at what went on in Wisconsin, who, by the way, now agree with me, Wisconsin has been virtually, other than the fact they're not allowed to do anything statutorily.
No one. Like, you can't. I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, you look at it and you're like, is he that unhinged truly? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like his counter or his defense lies on him just like being insane. Not that it matters. It doesn't matter if you genuinely think, oh, what am I saying? See, I'm getting captivated by his riz. It doesn't matter if he fucking truly thought that the election was stolen from him. That still doesn't matter. You can't fucking create a false slate of electors. What the fuck am I saying? Jesus Christ.
But Wisconsin has been, I mean, what they found is incredible. I mean, we won Wisconsin. But Mike Pence had the right, in my opinion, to send him back.
Do you ever talk to him now?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I was very disappointed in him.
He's not allowed to. He's a key witness.
I didn't want to do what Thomas Jefferson did. Thomas Jefferson, it was Georgia. And it was, hear ye, hear ye, the great state of Georgia is not capable or allowed to tabulate their votes. And Thomas Jefferson, who was the vice president, said, is Georgia sure that they cannot tabulate their votes? Georgia is sure. He didn't send them back and have them redo it. He said, we will keep the votes of the great state of Georgia for Thomas Jefferson and his president. I didn't ask him for that. Could have done that too, but I didn't. I thought that would be turmoil. I asked him to send him back to his legislature, to the legislatures, you know, in Wisconsin, let's say.
But why didn't he? I mean, you'd worked together for 4 years. You're the president. He's VP. You say you're aligned on everything.
I think he got very bad advice. I really do. Now, let me tell you what happened. I sat there with a few people. I think his lawyer was in the room too. His lawyer was very much against it. There were other lawyers that felt you could do it. It was one of those things. I think you could have done it. I think you can always do something if you see fraud or if you see problems. But it's very interesting. So after the election was over, the rhinos got together with the Democrats.
Fucking rhinos.
And they redid the election, so you couldn't do it anymore. So then,
is Trump on Dayquil? Sudafed.
And I called the people. I said, so in other words, you're saying I was right. You could do it. Yes, you could do it. In other words, they took the Voting Act and they redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do. So when that happened, I said, wow. And you know, you'd look some of these Democrats in the eye and they'd say, he has absolutely no.
I mean, that's, what is he saying? Is he trying to fucking claim that they're like, they post hoc put together a rule change so they could prosecute him with said rule change, even though technically there was no violation of the law before the rule change happened, which is not how you can prosecute someone? I don't even know what this rule change is that he's talking about. Like, he's like, yeah, I did fraud before fraud was illegal, and then they made fraud illegal after the fact, and then they did it specifically to arrest me for fraud, but that's not how that works. Congress passes election reform designed to ward off another January 6th. Yeah, this is not what they are using to prosecute Trump with. No, they passed this. They passed this to make sure that, like, it's one of those symbolic ass bullshit fucking liberal displays of bipartisanship to be like, we've moved on. You're wrong, Haas. Oh, he's trying to say that because they made a new rule about it, it wasn't allowed before. Okay, first of all, rule change or not, it's still not allowed. What he's doing is still not fucking allowed. That's why he's currently being criminally prosecuted. Okay? If the rule change was the reason why it's no longer allowed, then he wouldn't be criminally prosecuted. Because, as someone also pointed out in the chat, you can't, unless it's like, I think it's like pedophilia maybe. Like, there are certain crimes that you could technically engage in ex post facto prosecutions on. Actually, I'm not even sure. I think across the board, you can't do that, right? You can't just like decide something is now illegal and then go back in time and prosecute someone criminally for things that wasn't illegal back then. I think I'm confusing that with I'm confusing that with something else. I do love God, I do love trying to decipher what Donald Trump is saying and then try to make sense of it all. Imagine that there was a law in the books requiring you to travel by horse and buggy. That is what the Electoral Count Act is like. Co-director of the election law program at the College of William & Mary told NPR this summer. In the time after voting ended in 2020 and the results were certified, Trump and his team argued that the then Vice President Mike Pence had the power to interfere with the counting of electoral votes because the law as it currently stands names the Vice President as the presiding officer over the joint session of Congress where those votes are counted. Legal experts across the political spectrum debunked that reading of the law, but Trump's pressure campaign still led to the powder keg that erupted at Capitol on January 6th, when chants of "Hang Mike Pence" rang through the halls of Congress. Yeah, I was confusing it with states extending the statute of limitations for child abuse and pedophilia, like child, yeah. Where are you getting the info on Trump not being able to speak to Pence? I have a lawyer buddy who says that's not true. Help me understand. Wait, what? You have a lawyer buddy that says that a criminal co-conspirator can talk with ease to a key witness? Really? Like a key witness in their criminal case? Does he think that, like, witness intimidation is just free speech? Like, what's happening? And it's not even like, it's not even a witness, it's not even just witness intimidation, but like in a lot of instances, you wouldn't even be able to have access to the other person. You wouldn't be able to talk to the other person because you'd probably be in, under pretrial detention. You know what I mean? It's actually really interesting. I do kind of want to watch after this. We'll watch the Legal Eagle video. Like I said, it's an interesting situation because it's not exactly something that has ever happened before. But I do believe that is the real reason why he skipped the debate secretly, because he didn't want to appear weak by asking a judge and then possibly getting denied permission to go on the debate stage. Yeah. It's a defined legal term and a well-known restriction. You are correct. Chad is being dumb. Yeah, it's called witness tampering. The act of obstructing justice by improperly interacting with a witness before or after trial. Examples include influencing, threatening, harassing, or physically harming the witness. But I guess it doesn't say collaborating. So our chat could say it's not witness tampering if you just have a normal conversation with a witness. But the issue is, any kind of aggressive manner in a debate stage between Trump, especially against Mike Pence, could be technically under that category.
No right to do it. And immediately after the election, they met rhinos, could name them all, and Democrats, and they approved legislation that takes away the right of the vice president to do it. So I said, So you're saying I was right. The vice president did have the right to do it, and they said, yes, he did.
So if you're saying they stole it from you last time, why wouldn't they do the same this time?
Oh, well, they'll try. They're going to be trying, yeah. But, and not only me, you know. Look, DeSantis is out. I think he's gone. So he was at a level. People have figured him out. He's gone. But if somebody else got in, other than me, they'll go at him just as viciously as they did me. These people are sick. They will go after them. And a lot of people say they won't be able to hold up. I do get credit for holding up quite well, I must tell you. I think it's...
How do you do that? How do you get indicted, you know, every week and stay cheerful?
It's... I think it's a lot easier because I'm so high in the polls, because it means the people get it. The people see it's a fraud. The people see it, like this horrible district attorney from just a little while ago, from essentially Atlanta, that's Fulton County. She said, basically, I don't have any right to challenge an election. Well, what about Stacey Abrams? What about Hillary Clinton? What about all of these Democrats that are still challenging my election? The same people that are saying he's challenging an election.
Bro, I don't understand how... Okay, I don't understand how people can't make this distinction between what Trump did and just simply saying, oh man, I think the election was won in fraudulent ways. Okay? Like every single example that he uses are from people who have immediately conceded, okay, who then go on to say, look at all the stuff that you did before the election. This was really fucked up. Not a single one of those people turned around and like went beyond. Some of them didn't even do recounts. Okay, most of them didn't even do recounts. Trump did all the recounts, which is legal, perfectly valid. He can do that if he wants to, especially if it's close, or especially if he wants to pay for it, okay, which he did. But then after like the 8th recount, you can't then decide to create a false slate of electors who are knowingly going to, again, decide to vote for Donald Trump because you personally believe you won. That is insane. Like that is illegal. You can't do that. That's why there's fucking 4, well, not 4, but at least 2 criminal cases, 1 federal, 1 state level. It's so weird. And it's always the funniest ways that he has tried to like cheat it. It's the funniest ways in which he's tried to cheat the system, where he's like, oh, no one will figure it out if, like, when the electors that go in that are supposed to cast their votes, okay, if we just replace them with people that will just vote for Donald Trump. It's like, bitch, you think elections are won and lost with the electors? That's just another symbolic part of the fucking process, idiot. Elections aren't even won in the eyes of the public by actually counting the fucking votes. Elections are won on projections on national television. That's how you win elections. It's so stupid. It's actually not symbolic. That's the problem. I mean, it's symbolic in the sense that like there's no way they could fucking do that. They can't just like turn around and be like, we're going to have a false slate of electors and then get away with it. But can you imagine? Everyone went out, they fucking voted, they did their jobs, okay? And then he like snuck in a group of people to be like, well, we're the ones who are actually, we're the ones who are going to cast our votes. God, American elections are so stupid. For those of you who don't know, okay, here's how this works. In the Electoral College, here's how this works. Each candidate running for president in your state has their own group of electors known as a slate. The slates are generally chosen by the candidate's political party in your state, but state laws vary on how the electors are selected and what their responsibilities are. But basically what ends up happening is in the Electoral College, a person from your party casts the electoral college vote on your behalf after you fucking win the election. You can't turn around and just be like, yeah, actually, we're just going to not do that. We're going to do the opposite way. We're going to go in the opposite way. Like, the electoral college in and of itself, okay, is at that point, once it gets to this point of casting a vote in the electoral college, that part is obviously not symbolic in the sense that, like, there is a real group of individuals that is doing this, but you can't fucking change the outcome that way. In a way, they are human conveyor belts. This reminds me of like the Bernie diehards that used to say, like, oh, well, you know, in the primaries, like, what if the Democratic Party, like, what if all these people chose to just, like, vote for Bernie instead? Instead of Hillary Clinton. And that's a little bit different because that's the fucking primaries. Okay? That is like intra-party affairs. It's a little different than like an actual candidate selection process. Okay? That is very different than a general election where your party's candidate is going against the other party's candidate. And even then it's fucking bananas and it wasn't going to happen. Do you get it? No, that is wrong. They don't actually have to follow the will of the people. It never happened historically, but they can do it. Yeah, that would be fucking ridiculous. That would be fucking insane. Because most people don't even know they exist. Most people just think the Electoral College is a thing. Okay? It's an automated process. And it might as well be. Okay? What the fuck are you saying? Inside of the DNC machine, inside of the primary structure, technically the Democratic Party's machine that operates the primaries is a private institution that could do whatever the fuck they want. They could technically say, fuck all the votes. We decided this person is now the candidate. They literally, legally could do that. As a matter of fact, they argued in court that they could do that, and they won. Okay? The DNC won that. So they can do that. But that is because it is a party that is putting up a candidate. Okay? That is very different than a general election where the party's candidate is on the fucking ballot and you're casting a vote for that party, and then that party's candidate wins, and then some electoral college process goes, yo, you know what? We actually decided my guy won. It's like 11 people in one state decides the outcome of the election. That's fucking insane. The electors are sent. The electors that are sent could vote for different people in some states, faithless electors, but you can't change who the electors are and send a fake slate. There is a reason why it is unprecedented and ridiculous and illegal. Yeah, it's like the courts. It's the courtroom stenographer just typing not guilty and all the transcripts saying they look like he won, even after the jury has decided that this person was guilty. You know what I mean? Sorry. The court stenographer decided to fucking say that he wasn't guilty because he doesn't feel like it. So now we have to act like he's not guilty. Like that's insane. That's not how this works at all. Not to mention that this happened after perhaps the most amount of legal consideration was given to whether or not the election was stolen. Like way more than there should have been. No shot. In 2020, 33 states and the District of Columbia, as of 2020, 33 states and the District of Columbia have laws that require electors to vote for candidates for whom they pledge to vote, though in half of these jurisdictions, there's no enforcement mechanism. In 14 states, votes contrary to the pledge are voided and the respective electors are replaced, and in 2 of these states, they may also be fined. 3 other states impose a penalty on faithless electors, but still count their votes as cast. Colorado was the first state to void an elector's faithless vote, which occurred during the 2016 election. Minnesota also invoked this law for the first time in 2016 when an elector pledged to Hillary Clinton attempted to vote for Bernie Sanders instead. Until 2008, Minnesota's electors cast secret ballots. Now remember, these are people that weren't acting in unison with the Clinton campaign. These weren't people that were acting in unison with the Bernie Sanders campaign. These were people that were like doing it on their own. This is something that you also have to remember, because Donald Trump was coordinating to do this. That's what makes it also extra illegal, okay? That's why the false electors are also, well, some of them, are also fucking currently indicted under the RICO case. Until 2008, Minnesota's electors cast secret ballots. Although the final count would reveal the occurrence of faithless votes, it was impossible to determine which electors were faithless. After an unknown elector was faithless in 2004, Minnesota amended its law to require public balloting of the electors' votes to invalidate any vote cast for someone other than the candidate to whom the elector was pledged. Washington became the first state to find faithless electors after the 2016 election in the wake of the state having 4 faithless elector votes. In 2019, the state changed its law for future elections to void faithless votes and replace the respective electors instead of fining them. In California, a faithless elector may face a fine or imprisonment for up to 3 years for casting a faithless vote. Over 58 elections, 165 electors have not cast their votes for the president or vice president as prescribed by the legislature in the state they presented. Of those, 71 electors changed their votes because the candidate whom they were pledged died before the electoral ballot. 1 elector chose to abstain from voting for any candidate in 2000. 93 were changed typically by the elector's personal preference, although there have been some instances where the change may have been caused by an honest mistake. Usually, faithless electors act alone, although on occasion, a faithless elector has attempted to induce other electors to change their votes in concert, usually with little, if any, success. One exception was the 1836 election, in which all 23 Virginia electors acted together, altering the outcome of the Electoral College vote, but failing to change the outcome of the overall election. The Democratic ticket won states with 170 of the 294 electoral votes, but 23 Virginia electors abstained in the vote for the vice president, meaning the Democratic nominee, Richard M. Johnson, received 147 votes, or exactly half of the Electoral College, one short of being elected. Johnson was subsequently elected vice president by the U.S. Senate. Yeah, look, a Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party elector voted for Bernie Sanders for president and Tulsi Gabbard for vice president, but these votes were invalidated and the elector was replaced by an alternate elector who then cast votes for Clinton and Tim Kaine. Look, in Colorado, Kasich received 1 vote for president, which was invalidated, and the elector was replaced by one who cast a vote for Hillary Clinton. The rules are fake, and we made them up. If they tried to enforce the fake rules, there would be revolt. Actually, you are supposed to be able to, and that is why it was set up this way. You were supposed to be able to change the outcome back in the day. There's a CGP Grey video about how news worked back in the early days. The point is, they were supposed to be able to. You are right, but the system is this way. They can change it. This happens a lot. We just now started caring to stop them. Before them being allowed to change was the point. Yeah, but they fucking replaced them, so it doesn't matter. Like, the ultimate outcome is almost always the same, with the exception of the Virginia one that we just saw. And even then it was the same. The outcome from the eyes of the American public is that you vote for somebody, that person wins, you don't think about it. Does that make sense? So even if there's a faithless elector, it doesn't matter because they're replaced. And then now they even get punished for it too. That is true. They've never had an upset. That's what I mean. And I get what you're saying. You're like, well, if this system is so stupid, which it is, by the way, they should fix it and they should make it, they should change it to something that isn't stupid. Like at the top of the hour, there's a stupid thing. You see a 3-minute ad break. If you want to change it, you can, subscribe for $5 or for free. Fake electors are obviously different and illegal to faithless electors. Yeah, that was also the other problem, that he had a false slate of electors that he wanted to replace. Like it almost feels like he is it's like a child's brain. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh no, it's fine. We'll just put 3 children in a fucking trench coat and then we can be Vincent Adult Man. And then no one will know. And then we can do all the stuff that adults can do. We can get away with it. It's fine. It's like a villain in a 90s cartoon saying, oh, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids like it's fucking Scooby-Doo or some shit. You know what I mean? Anyway. I'm kind of bored of this. Let's finish this part up. Let's wrap it up, and then we'll move on to fun stuff.
Challenged my election. And they did it with slates. They did it with all sorts of things. They were very bad about it. But basically, they're suing me, and they're saying, you don't have any right to challenge it. If you challenge an election, we're going to indict you and put you in jail. So what they're doing is they've weaponized, and don't kid yourself, the DOJ and Biden and the whole group, they're watching all of this stuff. They love the local stuff. You know, the DA in Manhattan. Not only that, they put one of the DOJ top people into the Manhattan DA's office to run things. They don't even have a case against me. It's not even a case. Everyone says, even the Democrats say, you can't bring these cases. You have no case. The Attorney General or the District Attorney, Fannie Willis, in Atlanta, she's getting killed. Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right to to criticize an election. But you've been around long enough now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton.
Trump says he'll surrender to Georgia authorities on Thursday. No, the similar thing happens. Wait, you said 4th paragraph? This is also the same in the federal case as well, where Mike Pence is actually a key witness. Here. Fuck. The former president will be required to pay a $200,000 bond and sign off on various requirements from the court in order to remain free. These include not committing any further crimes, appearing in court when required to, and refraining from making any direct or indirect threat of any nature against any co-defendant, unindicted co-conspirator, witness, or victim. Which, by the way, he has already violated, too. That's the other thing. Because prosecutors made a point to stipulate that these restrictions apply to posts on social media or reposts of posts made by another individual on social media. I wonder why they made that stipulation. Another violation of the First Amendment, not letting my president do more crimes.
It goes crazy. Every time she talks, she says, he's not the president. Jimmy Carter said, he's not the president. Well, I am the president. Hillary Clinton called me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
Yeah, exactly. That's... What? That is the point. Yes. Wait. I keep pausing over and over again, but like he just completely eviscerated the former point that he was making. Yeah. What? Bro, you can't literally be like, they wanted me to not be president and they never stopped. Like, and they are not getting prosecuted, but I am. What the fuck? While simultaneously being like, she called me to concede.
Election.
Did her voice crack?
Well, her voice was, it's very different, I will say. I won't get into that. But
what do you mean?
Her voice was very different.
What?
Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came home and I said, you know, I think we won. I felt we won because the rallies are so big. You know, we'd go to Wisconsin and we'd go to Georgia. We'd go to different states and Michigan.
Hillary was never the president, Hasan? What? Yeah, I know. I don't think you heard what he said. He said, Hillary Clinton never conceded to me, or the Democratic Party never let go of this like false reality that I wasn't the president or whatever, and then turned around and said, Hillary Clinton called me the night of the election to concede. So that's very different than why he's being prosecuted. If his counter is, well, the Democrats did it too and nothing happened to them, you can't just then immediately turn around and be like, and here's how the Democrats didn't do what I did.
And we'd have rallies in Pennsylvania. We had 58,000 people in Butler. And I said, you know, how are we losing this? How do you have a rally where you have from 50 to 100,000 people, many of them? You know, I did 7 a day for a couple of days. That's a lot. That's a lot. These are big rallies, too. And I didn't hold back. I didn't say, let's make them little, let's do abbreviations, right? But but they challenged the stuff.
Yeah.
Hillary called me up and conceded. Now, the word is that Obama said you have to do that. But she called up and totally conceded. But now, you know, every time you see her on television, she's saying, like, well, she's challenging the election.
Do you think...
So that would mean that she should be indicted, but that would mean also that Stacey Abrams in Georgia should be indicted, because she still thinks she won the election for governor. She still thinks that. She's never recanted. And
Do you think Stacey Abrams will be indicted for that?
No, of course not. She won't be. The Democrats don't.
Brother, it is not illegal to say that an election was won with ill-gotten means, okay? You can say that. You can say that. You can say that all day, every day. The problem is, you can't say the election was stolen from me, okay? The election, well, you could still say the election was stolen from me too, actually. You just can't act out in course correction because you do, in your heart of hearts, legitimately believe that the election was stolen from you. Every single example that you have brought up is an example of a person that has conceded. Okay? It is a symbolic one, right? Because the election is over. It's done. You lost. Concede, don't concede, doesn't matter. That's why Joe Biden is currently the president and Donald Trump isn't, regardless of his lack of concession. Okay? It's all the other shit that Donald Trump did while he had like the last, lame duck period, only fraction of power that he had. It's that area that he tried to maximize his opportunity on. Those are the illegal stuff that he did that, is why he's being currently prosecuted, why he's charged with crimes.
Don't get indicted for things like that. They don't get impeached. No, it's a different thing. With that being said,
yes,
I had great support when they did impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. Jim Jordan, the House was fantastic. And actually the Senate was very good for me, other than, Mitch McConnell. I think if he had, it's too bad I endorsed him. He was begging, he was going to lose that race, and I endorsed him, and he ended up winning the race because of my endorsement. He was down, he was going to lose to Amy McGrath. She was $90 million in cash, all set to go. She was leading by 3. He was going down. I did him a favor, and then 3-4 months later, he really won.
That's insane. He won. Amy McGrath was not fucking defeating anybody, okay? Come on, dude. He's so horny to act like he helped all these dying candidates. Like, that he's talking about, like, a person who is a permanent fixture in Kentucky politics, whether he's a fucking corpse or not. That is insane. He tried to say that Amy McGrath was a close race. That is insanity. Sure, you can say that about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis was a close race. Trump backing him truly did help him in Florida. You could not say that about Mitch McConnell versus fucking Amy McGrath. That is insane. McConnell won by like fucking, what, 10, 20 points? How many points did McConnell win by? Let's look. I'm gonna look at this real quick. Yeah, dude, it was so close. It was so close until I came in. It was so close. Yeah, what? Man, that sure looks like a close-ass race, dude. It's like almost 20 points, dude. It's basically 20 points. So dumb.
Wanted to impeach me. He's a bad guy. But if you look at what's going on politically, it's so interesting. The level of loyalty is different in politics than it is in normal life, I will say. With that being said, I've had great loyalty also. But the House was fantastic. The Senate was very good. They overrode Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell in my opinion, was trying to get senators to impeach me, especially for the second one. And on the
Brian Kemp won the governorship of Georgia on the same ballot Biden won the president. Excuse me, Brian Kemp, he's a cheater. Brian Kemp doesn't like me. Brian Kemp was cheating in the state of Georgia. He wanted Joe Biden. Excuse me. What, you think Trump likes Brian Kemp? He fucking hates him. Dude, he tried to unseat Brian Kemp and failed spectacularly.
The first one, he acted very, very slow. He should have gone much faster. But Mitch McConnell wanted to, and the senators went up to him, guys that are subservient to him because he gives money. You know, he gives them money. He gives them a lot of money. He raises some money and he gives it to them, and therefore they do what he said. That's the only form of leadership he's got.
So last question. If you're elected president again, what's your number one priority? When you ran last time, you said, I will build a wall. This time, your bottom line top promise to the country.
So you can do...
Yeah, I was wrong when I said this will be boring. This was wall-to-wall content due to Donald Trump.
Numerous things at the same time.
Of course.
But let's say number one is a border and taking hundreds of thousands of criminals that have been allowed into our country and getting them out and bringing them back to their country, Guatemala. By the way, not only the 4 countries that we think of as neighbors, all over the world. Last month, we had 149 countries represented. Think of it. We had 149 countries represented, Tucker, from places that many people never even heard of, coming into our country. And they're coming in from mental institutions, and they're coming in from prisons. They're emptying out their prisons all over South America. They're emptying out their mental institutions. Terrorists are pouring into our country. We have no idea. I had the strongest border in the history of our country, and I built almost 500 miles of wall. You know, they like to say, oh, was it less? No. I built 500 miles. In fact, if you check with the authorities on the border, we built almost 500 miles of wall, and I had another 200 that I was going to build. You know, it's like water. It seeks. And we're going to build another 200. We built it. It was all set to go. All they had to do was install it. It would have taken 3 weeks. And that's when I found out. I said, I think these people actually want open borders.
Gotta pee.
The first thing I would do would be I would seal up the border good and tight, except for people that want to come in legally.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. You know, January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly. I believe it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And you know some of the crowds I've spoken before. And like July 4th on the mall, I think they had 1 million people there. But I think that the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was on January 6th. And people that were in that crowd, a very, very small group of people, and we said, patriotically and peacefully and patriotically, right? Nobody ever says that. Go peacefully and patriotic. People that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people went down there, and then there are a lot of scenarios that we can talk about. But people in that crowd said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was love in that crowd. There was love and unity. I have never seen such spirit and such passion and such love. And I've also never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving towards something.
I don't know because
He's so, dude, no, I already talked about this earlier today. No, there's no fucking civil war, you jackass. Get the fuck out of here. He's trying to quote farm him so hard. Okay, I know there's a civil war question. I know, I'm still listening. No, you want to know why? Because how the fuck is there going to be a civil war? How? January 6th was the most limp dick version of that. And look what happened. People with a lot to lose, okay, HVAC business owners, small business tyrants, realized like, oh, fuck, it's not like it is in my small town where I can use the cops as my own personal mercenary guard against like nuisances and whatnot. Like, there is actually a world in which, like, I could be criminally charged if I break into the Capitol. Yeah, they tried it in a big town, and it didn't go the way they thought it was going to. Okay? Doesn't matter if they were doing it with so much love, but also so much hatred against those who are ruining this country or whatever. Okay? It's just not happening. They saw it. They realized that it's not going to happen. So now, yeah, they tried that shit north of Richmond, okay, and it didn't work out for them. So now, guess what? Now they're not going to try that shit again. That's why you see maybe like a little bit of protests every now and then. But in the absence of like astroturfing happening surrounding these sorts of protests, in the absence of like any kind of real momentum, they can't even get more than like 75 bored psychopaths to show up to events where Donald Trump is like being criminally charged or whatever. It's just not happening. They now just exclusively chirp about it on TikTok. That's it. What is this? You just said nobody's forcing you to buy electric too. Only California's forcing you to be electric? Brother, XQC_kick. Are you on mobile? What's happening? That was not just now. And I said, they're not fucking forcing you to not have an internal combustion engine car in the state of California. There is a ban on sales of ICE vehicles by 2035. This does not mean that you can't have a regular vehicle in the state of California after 2035. You can still buy a car that has a regular engine in it. You can buy an older model. You can still have your cars. You can buy a car from out of the state. Okay. Anyway. I hope you get better. I hope it's not gambling related that you're having a bad night. XUC_kick. Damn, Weeby just clapped him so quick. That person is a ban evader that told someone in chat to kill themselves very recently. HasanAbi, don't ban. Okay, I was wrong. Sorry. This is why I trust. Man's just having a bad night, dude. Oops. Anyway,
because I don't know what
it's about to end.
You know, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen, and that's probably a bad combination.
Donald Trump, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
That is a bad combination, by the way.
Bad combination. Thank you.
That's it. Good night. Yeah, no civil wars happening, baby. I already told you. No reason to be fucking